All right, welcome back, everybody, to another Welcome to the J episode. I am your host, Jahenns Manigat, aka Canadian Red Bull. Woo, the guest that I have with me, he's been a guest on the show before. He is basically family at this point. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe to the Field of 68 Media Network. You guys know I always urge you to do this. There's so much content that we're bringing out every single day. Different alma maters representing their schools, like I'm doing today. Also, we got a whole bunch of college basketball announcers and guys used to broadcast on the sidelines talking about what's going on in the current state of college basketball. So it's a whole lot of fun over there. Make sure to like and subscribe to that. We have a reoccurring guest. He is our fourth guest of season number 3. He is an original member of the Mana Jays. He's affectionately known as Manager Mike, and more recently, obviously, he's been a big time helper in bringing TBT to Omaha. Michael Vandevoort, aka Mickey Mike, welcome back to the show, brother. Sporting
Thanks,
an
Jay.
absolutely goatee mustache today. I love
Yeah,
it.
well, I'll apologize and then I'll explain it. One, it looks bad. I am doing Movember, which is a mustache fundraiser for
Mhm.
men's suicide, men's colorectal health, and I've only raised like $350, but it's a good excuse to grow this wispy looking thing that I have. So I decided to go full mustache for this morning as I was participating in a turkey trot. And now here we are live with the man of the hour, Jahenns Manigat, to broadcast to the world this mustache.
I'm not the man. You're the man of the hour. You're the ones the guests on this show, and we're gonna talk a lot of Jays basketball for sure. Hey, look, I've never been a mustache guy. Like people know me, I always just keep this little bottom piece. But I'm airing it out right now. Next year, I'm with you. Movember, I'm helping you raise as much money as possible. I'm gonna be doing it with you. Deal? Does that sound like a deal?
Deal. I'll add you to
Oh,
my team. I have a team of zero right
man.
now, so I would love to grow it by 100%.
All right, you're captain. I'll be assistant captain. We're gonna do it
Per-
like hockey players do.
Perfect.
First of all, obviously, we're recording this on Thanksgiving Day, so I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out. Happy Thanksgiving. How
Happy
you doing? How
Thanksgiving.
you holding up?
Life is good. I am down in San Antonio celebrating with our close friend, Doug McDermott,
Mhm.
as his family has abandoned him for Hawaii.
For good
Apparently, there was
reason. Let's be
something
honest.
going on in Maui, but the weather there is not very good. We just had a quick FaceTime with Coach Mack, and he was it's windy, it's cloudy, it's rainy. We might have the better end of the deal here in San Antonio. Sun just came through, 70 degrees.
So you're
Not so
saying San
bad.
Antonio weather is better than Maui weather right now on Thanksgiving Day, is what you're saying.
Right now, at this very moment, I think we have better weather than Maui.
Fair enough. We've got lots to talk about. Obviously, as we're recording this, this is the post Maui Invitational show. We were supposed to record on Sunday, but we thought better of it that maybe 3 games to talk about was better than just the one that we just had previously, which was Riverside, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, but Maui is one of the most prestigious Thanksgiving tournaments in collegiate hoops. Growing up, I was a huge fan of it. When we were in college, we were always hoping, praying, wishing that we have a chance to go to Maui. 10 years later, here we are. The boys finally make it out to Maui. Before we even get into the competition and how the boys looked and all of that, talk to me about the first time you heard that Creighton was going to go to Maui. I think it was announced last year or maybe the year before that. I don't quite remember. But the first time you heard it, like I was flabbergasted, obviously. What was your reaction to knowing that, whoa, like we're kind of big time now that we get a chance to play in this tournament?
I mean, that was the thought. Like, we are big time. I think, I mean, in a lot of ways, well deserved. I think Coach Mack said in his 36 years of coaching, like this, it's not like the pinnacle, but it's definitely a very prestigious group to be a part of. And
Mhm.
good for the players, good for recruiting, good for the families, good for boosters. I mean, all around, like, I haven't heard a bad thing from the people I've talked to that have been there. And it helps when you're winning games for sure. But
Mhm.
I think the rise just keeps happening. And I keep talking to a lot of people about that, which is this program the roots have been laid for a long time, and I think this is like a tree that's taken a little bit longer to bloom and get to like where it is going to be. Um, we saw some of it early on, like back to the Kyle Korver days. Then kind of your senior class, Jay, and now where we're at is just, I just smile and I get goosebumps, man. Like,
Bro, it's crazy because like when I think about where we were at like Vegas and Anaheim my senior year, which great tournaments for sure.
right,
Like I'm not knocking those tournaments at all, but Maui it's something completely different. Like I don't even know like I've never participated. Just watching the boys participating made me feel that much better that I was been a part of the program. That like, hey, these are the guys that have come a few years after me, and this is where we're at now. Like, do you kind of feel the same sense too?
100%, 100%. And I think all the current guys have so much respect for who's come before them. And
Mhm.
I tweeted a picture out from the Arkansas game, which is like the Creighton family is different. Like we have a
Or
different bond of past alumni, current players. It's special, and I think you even feel it overseas, right, Jay? Like you have all kinds of stories of running into people and being like, Jahenns in the airport, like in a random European city.
yeah. Well, the Creighton family is spread across everywhere. First of all, that's number one. But the biggest thing that I have really is like when I talk about my crane experience and how much I loved it, how much I go back every summer, like things of that nature. When I talk about that and I see like my teammates who have gone to other places, not at all have that experience and not at all enjoy the way they went to school. Like they've gone to, I don't want to, throw any schools under the bus, but whatever schools they've gone through, they're like, dude, I'm never going back. Like, I don't mess with the coach. I don't mess with my teammates. Like, I told them to delete my number after my 4 years. Like, those are real stories that, like, obviously former student athletes, now pro players have.
Yeah,
But it's like, I don't hear a lot of the stories of, like, hey, I went to the school for 4 years and I was very happy that I did. And I go back every summer and I really enjoy the people that I worked with, played with every day. Like, you don't hear those stories too often.
yeah. I mean, think about the number of our guys that now live in Omaha over the summer.
Mhm.
I don't think that's normal.
you're you're right. It isn't normal.
And but like in a good way, right? Like I think it's awesome that all of these guys have said, when I'm not playing overseas, I have a home in Omaha that I own, and that maybe my wife and my kids are going to stay in throughout the season, and then I'm going to go
Mhm.
back there because that is my home. That is where I'm most comfortable. That's where I want to be, to spend my off season. I just think that's like the ultimate from a coaching and a administrative standpoint, to say all these guys want to come back. They want to be together even after they're done playing, and they want their kids to grow up around their other teammates' kids. I don't have kids, neither do you, but we have plenty of our teammates who do.
Right. Yeah. And the other part too is going back to the picture that you tweeted, like our fans travel so well. I mentioned
Oh,
going to Vegas, going to Anaheim, like we had like those hotel room got the send-offs, yeah,
send
the
offs.
famous Creighton send-offs in the hotel room, even in those smaller tournaments, right? Like it happens in Missouri Valley tournament, it happens in Big East tournament. But like we're in Vegas, we're in Anaheim, this time in Maui, like what our fans are up to. Like they just want to send us off, wish us some good luck, and then they're the loudest people watching on the broadcast on TV. So yeah, it's a crazy family that has been built, obviously, through the work of the giants before us, like Coach Mack loves to say, like Raz has a big
Yeah,
part of it. Dana Altman has a big part of it. Coach Mack really carried on the tradition. So man, we really look like we're a program that knows what it's doing.
it's fun, man. It's fun. Even wearing Blue Jays gear around New York City, I could slowly see more people being like, I recognize
Hell
that. It's not like
yeah.
a foreign college mascot. And today I figured I should wear my new favorite sweatshirt representing
Oh,
the new league that we play in. So
of course.
not new anymore, but
But yeah, are we still calling it the new Big East? Because that got pretty old halfway through my
I
senior year.
I think we've earned some street cred. Shout out to
Mhm.
Jay Wright and Villanova for helping really establish that. But The new Big East is the Big East.
Let's get into these games that we were so fortunate enough to witness these past couple of days. Obviously, the first game against Texas Tech. What a tough defensive minded team Texas Tech was. A Jays team that barely turns the ball over, turned it over 5 of their first 6 possessions. It took about 2.5, 3 minutes of game clock before we got our first shot off. Tied 31 at halftime. Obviously, their first major challenge for the Jays. What was your expectations going into the game, and how do you think the Jays responded in that first half of that Texas Tech game?
Yeah, I mean, you can prepare as much as you want, but you cannot simulate what they do defensively, what Arkansas is going to do defensively. We'll stick to Texas Tech, but like an element of just getting used to playing that physical, that much length, and refs that maybe are going to swallow their whistle a little bit. Oh, and by the way, it's a 9:30 a.m. tip off. How many basketball games, Jahenns, have you played at 9:30 a.m. since ninth grade?
I was gonna say, if it's not AAU related, not a lot for sure. Like I remember I mean, God, we were a team from Canada too, so we got no respect. I remember like some 8:15 tips that was a part of like freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school. So yeah, no, definitely not one that I would be happy about.
Yeah, but I thought we settled down pretty nicely, and obviously second
Mhm.
half adjustments when you don't turn the ball over at all, and you can sustain possessions. The other fun fact I had was we scored at 1.2 points per possession, which again,
Mhm.
Texas Tech has, they've changed personnel, they've changed coaches. They didn't give up over 1.1 PPP last season. And so you have to go back two
Mhm.
years to the Baylor team, which, by the way, was pretty good and won a national championship. I think they scored 1.28
Mhm.
in the Big 12 tournament versus Texas Tech. So when we didn't turn the ball over, it was a bucket. And I think that's a lot to say about this offense and
That's why I
how
love having you on the show because you bring out all the analytics, all of that. I love having you on the show for that.
that was a fun. I tried to, I pulled deep into the Rob Anderson bag for that one. But yeah, I thought really good debut for our guys. Texas Tech was fun to watch. Daniel Bacho, they're big, who doesn't really get a lot of love. He's going to be a good player, man. I think he had 17 and like 10, runs the floor like a gazelle, and just absolute high energy guy you'd love to have on your team. But again, R5 super balanced, kind of shortened the bench a little bit. I think we had 4 bench points, maybe it was something. Those first 2 games, it was 4 total bench points. So I like R5. We just got to figure out how we can implement the 6, 7, 8, and 9, and get a little bit more production because we're going to need them. There's no doubt about it. A long Big East season is going to require some significant bench play.
I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, the starting five was, you know, incredible. The 3 games for sure. Definitely looking for a little bit more support off the bench. It is of my personal opinion that, getting those bench guys into the game a little bit earlier might help out in the long run too. Obviously, Coach Beck is a genius. I'm not questioning what he's doing. I'm just speaking as like from the mindset of a player. If I'm coming off the bench, I like to get maybe a little bit of an earlier run to see if I could get myself a little acclimated to the rhythm of the game before having to come in when the game is really tight and when your mindset as a bench player is, oh, I just don't want to mess up right now. I don't want to turn the ball over. I don't want to do something stupid defensively. I think when you get that confidence going a little bit earlier, a la Mason Miller in that last game, get him
Yeah.
in, knock down a couple of threes, his confidence is up. Now he's a reliable guy down the stretch as well. But you mentioned the center for Texas Tech. Bouncy is all hell, athletic is all hell. Man, he covered some ground. And what I really liked about the Jays is that we kept attacking. We weren't afraid, to get into the paint, to either finish for ourselves or to dish off to Big Kalki, who had a couple of monster dunks in that game too. Able to pull away from that Texas Tech game only to set ourselves up for how
Best
can I
game of the year.
describe this Arkansas team? How can I describe this Arkansas team? Uh, as feisty as they come, They talk their talk like I haven't seen in a really long time. They don't back down from anybody. That point guard was an absolute stud.
Stud.
Talk to me about your impressions of that Arkansas team because it looks like they've got a couple of pros on that team.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Yeah, Anthony Black. I mean, exclamation point. The guy is
Mhm.
really good, and we were in on him. Which that's just a whole nother piece of where we're at as a program. Is these now top 5, top 10, top 20, top 50 kids that we're going to keep playing against? We are right there from a recruiting
Mhm.
standpoint. And I think it used to be like, oh shoot, one of these schools comes in, gives an offer, like we don't have a chance. But now I think we can play with the best of them,
Mhm.
facilities, staff, NIL, booster base, etc. Yeah, Anthony Black was tough. I really like. I think he was a backup. The Brazil kid, like he came in,
Yeah.
knocked down a bunch of threes, which we're gonna drop Kalkbrenner all night long and force their 5 to make threes. If he's gonna do it, that's great. It's gonna make things interesting, and he did. Kudos to him. Uh, there's two things. One, I think this Arkansas team, come March, is gonna be sick if they can
Scary, very
keep it
scary.
together. But I'm also interested to see how they implement Nick Smith. I mean, he's their top ranked recruit. I think he's 2 or 3 in the country. He's an on ball guy. And I thought Anthony Black was as good of a point guard as I've seen in college basketball. And he's 6'7". He can see over everything. He can shoot it, and he moves incredibly well. So they can maybe implement some two guard stuff. I think even us as Creighton, we see it with Trey Alexander late last year, and then if we take Nemhard off the ball and let Trey play the one, it's fun as a coach to have that flexibility. But I'm curious at Arkansas, where you have potentially some bigger egos and guys really trying to move up their draft stock. How does that impact this team come March?
And isn't that the thing that always tears a team apart is who the quote unquote man is supposed to be? Like, of course, like we're talking about an Arkansas team. This is a Crane centric podcast, but like I'm just so intrigued with this particular team because of all the talent that they have. The athleticism that they have by itself is maybe the most athletic team that the Jays are going to play all year. I'm ready to admit that it is the most athletic team that the Jays are going to play all year. To introduce another ball handler playmaker, if they're able to play nice with each other, they have a whole lot of potential, obviously. But we'll obviously keep tabs on them as the year goes on and see how good of a team they could be. But another game that the Jays were tested early and often responded to every single one of those tests for sure. It is my opinion that Ryan Nemhart played the best 3 collegiate games in a Creighton jersey of his career this weekend. He led the way against Texas Tech. He was the leading scorer in this game. I think he had his career high 25, if I'm not mistaken, against Arkansas.
Yep.
Um, and ran the show beautifully. When he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned how the growth of Trey Alexander and the arrival of Baylor was really going to help him. And it took a little while for me to understand that. Obviously, he didn't have the best games the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I think he's still trying to figure out how to play with these guys.
Yep.
Where can I get my spots? Where do I fit in? I think he's definitely figuring that out right now. What were your impressions of how Nemhard played?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been really, really good. I mean, he's picking his spots
And
to
we were
shoot it.
texting about him too, which is so funny.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know his updated assist to turnover. It's got to be like 40 to 8. That's insane. I mean, a guy.
Mhm.
I think two things. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit at Big East Media Day. Two things I've seen with him. One is the leadership. Like he's got a little bit more of a voice now. I think last year he was a freshman, and it's hard to come in and be a point guard and run the show and like be a
Oh,
leader
I
as a
know.
freshman.
I know. I
Yeah,
got bumped
yeah.
to that shooting guard spot real quick.
And I think the other piece is he's taken some dribbles out of his game. He's not super dribble happy. He wants to get it moving as quick as possible. So
Well, he
yeah,
also
to your
doesn't
point,
have to be the main outlet guy anymore, right? Like Nick Baugh talked about this in a previous broadcast. I got to give him props for his insight on this. And it's another thing that really gave me like cause to pause a little bit was he mentioned how Neymar could run the show and be a secondary ball handler for a really dangerous team. Baylor gets a ton of those
Yeah.
rebounds on a defensive end, and his ability to just push the ball, uh, create early offense if possible, and if that doesn't work, kick it out to a guy like Nemhard who can now, in his own right, off of a closeout, create offense for himself and others. That really just opens up his game. And I think we saw more and more of that this past week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one, Baylor's an unbelievable defensive rebounder. I don't know if he just picks the right spots, kind of like your old teammate Doug. But he is always around the rim, like easy rebounds. Let's get it and go, which I love. But yeah, to your point, you got three guys very
Mm-hmm.
capable of bringing it up, running the show, and the throw ahead. Baylor had a quick pass to Kalkbrenner in that Arkansas game for a dunk. It went Nebhard, Baylor, Kalkbrenner, and remember we used to do the fast break drill. You had to do it in like 8 seconds or something. That had to be like
Yeah.
3.5. It was the fast. I mean, just here's how you win transition basketball. Boom, 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 dunk. Like that was, I don't know.
Right. Ball never touches the floor, and if it does, it's just that one time. I remember that, Joe. That was one of Coach Murr's favorite, where like it'll be five transition, everybody has to score, and it's got to be under like 6 seconds or whatever that we get that layup on the other end of the floor. So it's a push ahead pass, 1-2 dribble layup, push ahead pass, 1-2 dribble layup from the other guy, push ahead pass, big finishes, push ahead pass, the other big finishes, and
Yeah,
finally the point guard has to finish on the other end. So yeah, that's exactly like what that play reminded me of too, for sure. And it's so exciting to see how quickly we could get the ball up the floor. It's like I think about the pace that we played at, and I always was like, that was a frantic pace, and we are nowhere close to these guys.
well, in your defense, you had Grant Gibbs, so just kidding. Uh, Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this.
but but are you? Oh no, he does not listen to this podcast, and if he does, Grant, I second that. It's your fault. For Arizona in that final game of Maui Invitational, certainly no slouch of getting the ball off the rim and hand manning the ball and getting early transition opportunities. You thought the Arkansas game was the best of the tournament. I think the Arizona game for me was the best of the tournament, and we both have good reasons for thinking the way that we do. But it was a joy to see a little bit of a more classical version of basketball because Arizona had two bigs running down the lane looking for early post, or a place where Creighton might struggle a little bit this year, which is their interior defense. You would never think, with the way that we scheme defensively, that that would be an issue for us. But I think at one point it was like 22-2 points in the paint in the first half.
Yeah,
So what is traditionally, I guess not traditionally, since Kalkbrenner's arrival on campus, the interior defense is something that we haven't had to worry about because he's been such a man among boys down there. How what was weird about seeing Crane be pretty much dominated in the paint like that in the first half, especially?
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's fatigue. Obviously, Kalkbrenner rolled his ankle bad twice
Mm-hmm.
in that first game, and come back. You play 35 minutes the next night, and then you got to play another 35 against this Ballo guy who, I mean, right now clearly most improved player in the country. I mean,
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
he's
really
got rights
remember
to
him
say
last
that for
year.
sure. Well, the Jay Billis kept mentioning about how he's a Gonzaga transfer, and the way Gonzaga's team is stacked right now, there's no chance he'd be getting on the floor. So this guy now just transfers with Coach Lloyd, which, by the way, shout out to Coach Lloyd. I went to prep school with Mangisa Arop and Kelly Olynyk. He was up there in Canada recruiting those guys super heavy. So I've met him a couple of times. Really good guy. He's carried on the tradition of recruiting internationally. They're the international Wildcats. I think there's the one American guy that starts. Guys are from Mali, from Estonia, Lithuania, Sweden. Like he's got guys from all over the place, and he's getting them to work in a cohesive unit. So shouts out to him for that. I know how tough that is to recruit and to bring those guys on campus like
Well, and
that.
to lose three guys to the NBA and still be ready to go. I mean, Benedict McDermott is playing really good for the Pacers. You got two other guys that go pro. It is not easy to do. Like people just assume this reload thing. It's really hard. But yeah, to your point, kudos to Arizona. I thought they were really good. I think that team is this is probably overkill. They're a Final Four team. I mean, no question about it. If Ramey can shoot it like that,
Mhm.
the way their guards play, any team that has 4 7-footers who are all can walk and chew gum, and their bigs are more than capable of that. They got a chance to be special. And to your point, I think Tommy Lloyd's a pretty good basketball coach. So we'll track their progression throughout the year too.
They did a really good job, obviously, of attacking the paint. I thought that was a really good eye-opening moment for a guy like Fred King, who's kind of seen Kalkbrenner really like dominate the opponent his first handful of games in his collegiate career. I think a guy like Fred could really kind of now understand what his position is going to be, especially in a game like that where you see Kalkbrenner struggle a little bit early. You take him out of the game, and now it's your turn to really like turn the tides if you have a chance to. At the very least, keep the ship steady before Big Cocky comes back into the game. Obviously, like anytime that you get a loss like that, it's a big like learning experience for everybody, right? So I think one of the guys who's really going to benefit from that is a guy like Fred, who now understands how important his role is as a backup center to come in and to provide that energy and effort and toughness and grit, that he's going to need in order to play, because Coach Mack is only really asking to play 3 to 4 minutes at a time, empty the tank and then reload again with Cockburner, who just got a rest. Um, down 9 at half, the Jays managed to score 49 points in the second half to get themselves to a 3-point game, 4-point game a handful of times, but they just couldn't get over that proverbial hump. How tough was it for you to watch that, thinking, we're so close, we just need one ball to bounce away, and it never happened in that game.
Yeah, I mean, very bittersweet. You get to the finals, and it feels a little bit like the Big East tournament last year. Well, no, not as much. I mean, I have higher expectations of this team, but we did
Well,
predict that.
the Big East tournament last year, remember, like we were right there, and then Gillespie, Player of the Year, knocks down 2 giant threes. Like, hey, he got that award for a reason, and he showed up when his team needed him the most. That's one thing. Obviously, we have higher hopes for this year's team, but it did
Yeah,
kind of feel like that a little bit.
yeah, 3 games. I'm pleased, man. I'm really pleased. I think from a fan standpoint, like what are we going to get from bench production? I think
Mhm.
huge learning opportunities for Frederick. Um, Sharif is still getting comfortable playing basketball. I think that's pretty apparent after essentially 2 years off. Defensively, he's even maybe a step slow, so we got to get him back up to speed. And um, I thought Mason Miller's minutes were pretty good, to be honest. Knocked down some big shots when we needed them, and then our starting five was really solid. I I love Trey Alexander, and I think he's got a chance to be good at the next level. I mean, he gets to his spot so well, Jay. Like that little 12-foot bank shot, he gets there all the time, and defensively, he's a pest. His arms are long. He's starting to really understand floor spacing and where he needs to be, and running in and around screens. He had a really good tournament, and he probably didn't get as much credit as he deserved. Like I think Baylor and
Mhm.
Ryan Nemhard kind of got the star power, but Trey was awesome.
You are literally listing off all the notes that I had about when we had to talk about Trey Alexander. You're absolutely right. His super shot is coming along. He gets to his spot like so effortlessly, which is, I don't know. I keep thinking about the beginning of his freshman year last year, where I was nervous every time he caught the ball in a half court setting. And then now I'm like, find Trey, give it to him, like make sure that he's ready to go. And yeah, his 12 to 15-foot shot is like he's it's going in every time, basically. And then kind of like Alex O'Connell last year, like he's really accepting that defensive role to just come in and like pester the best offensive perimeter guy. Uh, and he's been really good at it. Like I love his guts. I love like how he's just accepting like, hey, we need me to be this guy defensively. Like he's jumping into that role and really excelling at it. So yeah, I think Trey really showed up and showed out. He's not going to get as much credit as the other guys, and it's kind of like how Kyrie Thomas was. Like he never got as much credit as for those teams. Maurice Watson or Marcus Foster did. But without a guy like Kyrie, those two other guys can't do what they do. So I think Trey Alexander is really going to fit into that spot too. And you mentioned earlier in the program that we're going to have a special guest today. You did talk about how you're in San Antonio at Dougie McBuckets' crib. Douglas Richard McDermott is in the building. What up,
What up,
Dougie?
my guy? Sorry to interrupt. I feel like
No,
I feel like you were just explaining yourself when you're breaking down Trey and Marcus and Kyrie,
no
just
way.
the
Those guys are
unsung
way
hero.
better than me for sure.
That's why you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing a podcast, and that's why they're hooping like crazy in Maui for sure. How you doing, Doug? How you holding
Good,
up?
man. I'm good, man. Can't complain.
21 for this guy last night. How about that?
Yeah,
Easy money. That's
every once in a
expected.
while.
Every twice in a while.
Every twice in a while.
That's so funny because when you played the Raptors like not too long ago, and then my cousin like freaked out. They go like, Doug is doing it again because he had like a really good first quarter. Every time he sees the Raptors, he has a really good game. For those of you who have been paying attention, Doug, I'm actually happy that you just walked in on us right now because I was just about to bring up what Coach Mack was talking about in that last post game against Arizona. Talked about how proud he is of the guys. Obviously, like 3 games against that tough of competition. They had the hardest road to the finals by far in the Maui Invitational. And then to fall just short to a really tough Arizona team, beat an extremely talented Arkansas team. And then Texas Tech's defense is going to be top 5, top 10 in the country. Uh, Talk to me about, obviously, like, I know you're paying attention to these games. Talk to me about what you saw from the boys. And then, when your dad says something like that about, like, how proud he is of a team, to compete the way that they did, to fall just short, but understanding that it's a long season and there's a lot of things that they'll be able to, learn from this Maui Invitational. What's your take on it, and what did you see from the boys in this Maui Invitational?
Yeah, I was just as pleased. Obviously we knew the expectations were high this year coming into the season. And I think the scrimmage we had against Iowa State prepared us really well for Texas Tech and Arkansas's pressure. I know we still turned it over a lot. I blame the floor a little bit. It felt like we were slipping around everywhere.
Terrible.
I mean, I had anxiety every possession watching that game, and
Every single one.
yeah. But I think, I mean, obviously we'd want to win that tournament, but at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to kind of have that chip on our shoulder, get that back. We showed that we can play with anyone in the country. And obviously we have our next test against Texas.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot more comfortable going to that game now, compared to what I saw, the first couple of games. So we show we can play with anyone, and Texas is obviously a top 5 team, and they turn you over as well, and it's gonna be a hell of a battle. But overall, I'm just really, really pleased with what I saw.
Wow.
We got depth.
St. Thomas was the only scare I needed, to be honest. Like after that
Hey,
first game of the season, I was like, "Woo! I don't know, boys. You got to show me something now." And then they obviously responded after that. Mike, you were gonna say something?
yeah, St. Thomas has a 4-star. That kid turned down the Gophers, Iowa State. I mean, good for them. Like that school has money. They're going to be good. They'll figure it out. But the transition from D3 to D1 is a little different than the Valley to the Big East. So
Of course.
it'll be fun to follow that. Obviously, being a North Dakota guy, them being in Minneapolis, it's easy to keep tabs on them.
Well, Doug, you talked about the slippery floors in Maui. Like, it's not only us that had to deal with it. Obviously, like I stayed back to scout the Arkansas game against Louisville. I mean, it's kind of weird to see a Louisville team struggle. Like, that's not traditionally what we know of a Louisville team, and they do not look that good. Shout out to my guy Peyton Siva. If you ever hear this, I'm sorry, bro. I don't mean to talk trash about Louisville, but yeah, it's just every team really struggled. Like guys who got into the paint on a 2 foot jump stop would slip,
Right.
lose the ball. You'd be scared about like anybody like hurting an ankle or a knee. You saw Kalki go down a couple of times stepping on a guy's feet, but at the same time, it's like guys who never could really get comfortable on that floor. I don't know. I feel like that's been an issue in other Maui invitationals too. Like watching it as much as I have, I remember like Zion slipping on the floor and like things of that nature too. So that's the thing that they got to get fixed for sure in the
Yeah,
future.
we've had some issues in these preseason tournaments, like the ones down in the Cayman Islands. Same thing.
Mhm.
But
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just kind of happened, and I think we got to give Kalk a lot of credit. I know, the big fella for Arizona got going, but Kalk rolled his ankle twice in that first game, and he
Mhm.
was able to gut it out 3 days in a row. And Baylor, I think, rolled his ankle against.
Yeah.
He did the same thing, and he played well in the final. So those guys are tough. Obviously Jeremy's doing a great job with them strength wise. I think this team's really built for the long run, and it's exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's about as good of a Big East tournament preview as we're going to get. Those three teams, high level, uber talented kids, a lot of pros that are going to make it to the NBA and overseas for sure on all three of those teams. Uh, you're going to be attending that game if I'm not mistaken. Give us.
Yeah, I'm courtside, so I might have a little bit to say to the guys in orange
How
uniforms.
many glasses of wine are you going to have before that game?
Well, there's 7 of us, Jay. You're gonna love it. It's me and all the boys.
I
And
cannot wait to watch that on TV, bro. You know me, I'll be up at 4 a.m. watching that for sure.
look for the baby blue quarter zip. You know it's gonna be in there.
Jay, how was your ankle, by the way? I guess we didn't even ask you about that.
Yeah, so I twisted my ankle for you guys. It's been a bit of a road to get back to full health. I feel like I'm like 90-ish% now. I'm finally accepting the first, defensive role, which means I'm like close to being back to 100%. I'm finally chasing all those guys off ball screens and down screens and all that stuff. So it's feeling much better. I appreciate you asking for sure. Like you had a little bit of ankle issue last year too. So like I know you're asking from a place that's near and dear to your heart. I hope
Man,
that your health is holding up too. How are
oh,
you feeling?
it's great. I feel good. I actually rolled it again last night, but I feel like
Oh,
there's
of
not
course.
there's not much more ligaments left in it, so it doesn't really get swollen. Uh, but I feel good. The season's obviously, we're going younger and
Mhm.
it's more of a development season, but it's been great. These guys are really unselfish, and obviously being with Pop again is amazing. We got a lot of games left, but it's been going well, and I'm just ready to see you on PS5, brother.
Man, I'm waiting for
Yeah.
you to lick me
I
up,
just,
bro.
I just, my mom just surprised me with it, so it's in my room now, so I can finally play it.
All right, I'm gonna text you after this to make sure that we get our logins all swapped up, and then we'll figure out a good time for us to meet up.
Absolutely.
Um, okay, well, before I let you both go, obviously we got Texas coming up next. So, Mike, I want to get your, take on like what we should be expecting from both teams, obviously, and then Doug, I'll have you speak on that a little bit too.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna see it's gonna look a lot like Maui. It's just there's gonna be a lot less blue in the arena. So
Oof.
um, a little bit of a I don't know if revenge game is right. Obviously, Christian Bishop transferred down to Texas, thought he had a better opportunity to grow himself in his game. So a little bittersweet probably for some of our guys, even our coaching staff. So that'll be fun. New arena. To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Texas yet. Obviously, they blew the doors off Gonzaga.
Mhm.
I'm not. I mean, I think Mark Few's got a pretty young set of guards that he's trying to get integrated. Drew Timme, Player of the Year, but you need good guards to get things rolling. So we'll see. I think I looked ahead. We're probably going to be 6 or 7 point dogs. So Vegas tends to have a pretty good feel on things, but get our guys home. They're going to celebrate obviously Thanksgiving in Maui. Long, long,
Mhm.
long travel home, and then next week fly down to Austin. I would assume Wednesday and suit up for probably I mean, it's a little unfair to say this, but it's probably the toughest road test we'll have. I don't know if anyone in the Big
I
East
mean,
is going to be as good as Texas.
yeah, that's still yet to be seen. I think it's obviously going to be the biggest test so far, even though we lost a really good Arizona team playing on a neutral site where it's pretty much 50-50 in the stands compared to like being on the road where it's going to be burnt orange all over the place. that's going to be something that is going to be, interesting to see how the boys cope with that. Doug, your take on this upcoming Texas matchup?
No, I agree with what Mike said. And, I think Chris Beard is obviously a hell of a coach. But, seeing Texas Tech, like I said earlier, in Arkansas, where Beard came from Texas Tech. So, we have seen that style play a little bit, the way they want to turn you over, make the game ugly. And, obviously Tyrese Hunter, the Iowa State transfer, has been a game changer for them. So we're gonna have to slow him down. But, I think college basketball is so much about your guard play, and we feel like we got 3 or 4 really good ones. So, and Kalk is obviously incredible at protecting the paint. So there's not much going to be happening at the rim. So we just got to hope we can shoot around that 40% mark and hold them, under that, and it'll be a hell of a game.
Just got to make sure we get that fan base nice and quiet early, like I think that's going to be one of the things that we need to look forward to, like knock down some shots early, quiet them down. They're going to make their run. We just have to withstand, the avalanche that's certainly going to come. But yeah, I'm like Mike, you got your ear to the ground. You're saying we're going to be 6, 7 points underdogs. We'll see. We'll see how the boys really respond to that first true road experience. And, it's really just going to help them, further along. And as Big East play creeps up on us, like before you know it, guys, it's going to be December, whatever, and we're going to have Marquette at home, Villanova on the road, all that good jazz. So, we're here. We're right here in the thick of things for sure.
You are.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Jay, is a lot of guys keep talking like our dudes haven't experienced big moments. We just won 3 games last year at Madison Square Garden. Yes, Alex is gone. Yes, Ryan Hawkins is gone. There was 19,000 noise and 1,000 Creighton fans. Then we go to the NCAA tournament, same thing. We're down 10 with 2 minutes to play versus the best defensive team in the country. And then we go toe to toe with the eventual national champion. So, I think the guys will be ready for the moment. We'll see. We got to be better defensively. I think that's one huge thing that I would guess the coaching staff will kind of harp on leading up to the Texas game. Obviously, we've seen what the offense can do. Can we put together 40 minutes of just really, really solid defense?
That's definitely going to be. It's been our calling card the last couple of years. So I'm excited to see, what the coaching staff plucks out of those film sessions to help the boys improve on that end of the floor. Obviously, it's not ideal to go 80 to 83 every game, like we probably want to see those numbers be higher for us, lower for the opposing team. But yeah, nothing like Maui to really kick off, what's going to be a super exciting season as it rolls on for the boys. Any last word from you two? I appreciate you guys taking the time. First of all, Doug, happy Thanksgiving. Didn't have a chance to say that to you. Obviously, I'm super thankful for our friendship over the years and all that good jazz. Like, you're my guy for life. You already know it.
Heck of a cook.
Heck of a cook. Who cooked the turkey this year? Was it you?
We'll send you a photo. It's nice.
We'll get you a photo, man.
Yeah, we ordered in some food over here. Like Europeans don't celebrate Thanksgiving like we do back in the States.
You get 3 Thanksgivings: Canadian, American, European,
and European. Yeah. Mike, any last words before I let you go?
No. I think great exposure for this program, this team. Excited for Texas. Excited. I mean, a great stretch coming up. Nebraska, BYU. Arizona State, and I get goosebumps, man. Like, we are so relevant on the national level, and it's because of guys like you two. It's because of the Corvers. It's because of the Dana Allmans. Like, Creighton basketball, if there's a stock chart that's trending up to the right, that's exactly what it looks like. And this season, super excited. Hopefully we can connect a little later on, maybe a little Big East preview like we did last year.
Let's do it. Let's do it. That time is keeping up on us, so we definitely have to schedule that.
My thoughts and prayers are with your sleep schedule as you have to stay up for the games this year.
Thoughts and prayers for sure for my sleep schedule. Doug, any last words?
Man, just happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I know we're recording this, so it might be later, but we're all thankful for Blue Jay Nation and Creighton basketball. It's gonna be a hell of a year, and there's going to be some ups and downs, but I think we got a really good team led by a really good coaching staff. So should be a fun season.
Hell yeah. And we're gonna be there, talking about it every single step of the way. These guys are familiar with the show. Anytime I, text them, call them, ask them to come on the show, they're always willing to come on and give their expertise takes on everything Creighton basketball. So I appreciate you guys coming into the J with me one more time. Obviously, love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. Thankful for everything that you guys are to me, for real, for real.
Like
And again, make sure to like and subscribe to the Field of 68 Media Network, you guys, for all good things creating basketball on this particular podcast and everything else that we're doing, talking about collegiate hoops around the nation. This has been Michael Vandevoort, Douglas Richard McDermott. I am your host, Jahenns Manigat, since I'm giving out government names for everybody. I appreciate you guys listening to us. Happy Thanksgiving. And as always, go Jays.
Go Jays.
Go Jays.